This is AM Agenda. With me now, Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, Josh Frydenberg, and Parliamentary Secretary to the Shadow Treasurer, Ed Husic. Ed Husic, first to you. The government's saying it wants to end the 6-minute medical services. That in itself is a good thing, isn't it, to try and ensure GPs are giving appropriate care when people show up. That is, you'd welcome that element, wouldn't you?
There's already an incentive in the system. Doctors will know too that they, if you will, they want to provide the proper care for the people that might not necessarily be using the system the way it's intended. They deal with it appropriately because it impacts on their income earning capacity as it is. But what we've had in the last 24 hours is a ridiculous situation. I mean, doctors are being used in effect to give life to a de facto GP tax and being asked to take an income hit, which is unacceptable for them because, frankly, in suburban parts of the country where doctors, are already line ball in terms of their business model, this may, in some instances, push them out of practice because they just know it's not economic. And so, what happens to patients then? I mean, what happened yesterday is that Tony Abbott scraped off a barnacle, picked it up, and jabbed it into doctors and patients around the country. This is not a solution. This is more of a mess when he was trying to clean up another mess.
Josh Frydenberg, the Prime Minister was asked on Channel 9 this morning, did he consult doctors on the change? He said, yes, we did. Well, you heard Dr Parnas this morning. He said their consultation amounted to a phone call from the Minister half an hour before the announcement.
Well, firstly, Kieran, Ed was wrong there. There wasn't, until this announcement by Peter Dutton, a distinction between, for the rebate, for a doctor who was giving a 6-minute consultation and one who was giving a 19-minute consultation. So I think this is actually a welcome development and it's in the best interest of the patients. As for the level of consultation, well, there has been a great deal of consultation with a whole range of professionals within the medical sphere. And as Peter Dutton has also said on your program this morning, the AMA put forward their own proposal at the request of the Minister, and they supported in principle a co-payment, but that model that they put forth was not the one that we have now adopted. And I think now with this optional co-payment for non-concession patients over the age of 16, we have a very good outcome. And it's extremely important to emphasise that veterans, that residents of aged care facilities, that pensioners, that people under the age of 16, that 8 million Australians with a concession card will all be exempt from this co-payment. This is a very good outcome for fairness.
Do you accept that there is a question mark as to whether or not this price signal will work, given many of the individuals that will face this additional charge already pay a co-payment? There's nothing to suggest that this is going to work as a price signal, given the exclusions that have been announced.
Well, I think these exclusions reflect the need for balance here, protecting those who are the less fortunate in the society and those with greater socio-economic challenges, but also ensuring that those who are able to pay get the option here to pay an extra $5 if that's what the doctor decides to pass on. And in terms of the sustainability of Medicare, that's critical for the future because, as Peter Dutton has emphasised, Medicare was $8 billion 10 years ago, it's $20 billion today, and by 2024 it goes to $34 billion. And we're also putting money into this Medical Future Research Fund, which I think is vitally important given the great benefits to the community of medical research. So I think we've got the balance right, and I think it's a good improvement on the system today.
Ed, given the levy only covers so much of the ballooning health costs, isn't it appropriate that those that can afford to contribute some more do so?
There are a whole bunch of people, Kieran, that won't benefit from that at all. And they're the people that we need to target right now to make sure that lifestyle doesn't catch up as a healthcare problem down the track. A lot of doctors now spend time in terms of focusing on preventative health, and they need people to come in, and when they do make those appointments to see them, they can get a healthcare plan that will ensure that down the track they don't have a health condition, diabetes, obesity or heart disease, that costs us more to fix. Josh talked about healthcare costs. In the immediate term, the PBO has already said that there is not a crisis with healthcare costs in this country, that we're doing relatively well compared to others. What this assessment doesn't take into account is that if people don't present for healthcare now, what is the cost to us down the track of them avoiding seeing a doctor and having a healthcare problem that takes more to invest in later years. And bear in mind, this government has cut $50 billion in spending that was directed to healthcare and hospitals in this nation under the budget. So you have a double whammy. And what I also can't fathom is that the coalition, when we were in government, criticised us about the way we consulted with industry when we made decisions that impacted on industry. And you can go and hear them ad nauseum on what we did in terms of mining. How is it that they can affect the income of small businesses and doctors in this country in the way that they did yesterday, and without consultation, as the AMA's indicated, and do it in this way and not be held accountable for it? Frankly, this is a disgrace of what they've done to a small business constituency, what they've done to a sector, and their failure to consult. They should be condemned for it. And as I said, they scraped off a barnacle and they jabbed doctors and patients with it yesterday.
Can I just say, Kieran, we have increased health funding by 40% over the forward estimates, another $5.3 billion.
That is simply misleading.
And then in the last budget in May, we allocated a new 300 places, GP training places, every year. We have a very good story to tell in the health space. Now we've put forward a measure which is designed to improve the sustainability of the healthcare system over time, and also to put in place a significant boost to medical research.
The PBO doesn't back your claim, Josh. The PBO does not back your claim about insustainability.
And no alternative except just to criticise what the government is doing.
No, well, we don't have to do it because the general public will see this for what it is. It's a sham, and they will still pay 70% of what you paid suggested originally.
Julie Bishop and Peter Credlin, the Foreign Minister and the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, have been described as like two Siamese fighting fish. This is the front page of the Australian newspaper. Peter Van Onselen reporting there is a growing view in the upper echelons of the coalition government that the working relationship between the Liberal Deputy Leader and the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff is irretrievably broken down. Quote, they are like two Siamese fighting fish stuck in the same tank, one of your colleagues said. Josh Frydenberg, what do you say to that?
An anonymous colleague, I have to point out. Look, I prefer to refer
so that makes it better.
I prefer to refer to the comments of the protagonists involved. Julie Bishop has said that she's never had a crossword with Peter Credlin, and Peter Credlin says she's a great deal of respect for Julie Bishop. That should be the end of the matter. There's, of course, lots of speculation in the media as we approach the silly season of Christmas. We have to remember, as a government, as a party, that our opposition is the Labor Party, and that's where our focus must be. We have a job to do for the Australian people. I think we did have a very successful first year. I think it would be a disaster to go back to Labor after just a few years after their terrible record in office, and we just need to
Is that a possibility?
We need to keep on with the reforms. It is always a possibility. I mean, the lesson out of Victoria, Kieran, was that the public will not give incumbents an automatic second term. You have to earn it, and we will earn it. And what we have done in the first year is something that I'm proud of. But we have to remember, as a team, to stay disciplined and to keep the focus on the true opposition, which is the Labor Party.
Should they sit down and have it out, as one of your colleagues, again quoted anonymously in Peter's story, suggests?
Well, I'm sure that
will that be on
Julie
Main
Bishop,
Event?
I'm sure that Julie Bishop and Peter Credlin sit down all the time as two, senior members in the coalition team. Julie is the Deputy Leader and Peter is the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister. So I'm sure they will have many discussions going forward. But we need to remain united, because the opposition is the Labor Party.
Ed Husic, well, the fact is Julie Bishop's been very effective on the world stage, probably the government's best minister. If there are tensions, it's not affecting her.
she's been effective because she hasn't been home to deal with the mess that's been created by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. I mean, I don't think that's really a sustainable measure. The fact of the matter is this type of fighting is occurring because they know overall that their position has been undermined by the performance of a government that has been criticised widely of not living up to expectation. Yesterday with the GP tax, I mean, they made another mess in cleaning up a previous mess, and that's the problem with this government. We were promised calm, methodical, adult, cabinet government. We haven't got it. Performance is affected, and you're seeing this fighting as a result. So it doesn't get better, it gets worse as people realise that the general public is starting to turn their back on this government.
Ed Husic, Josh Frydenberg, gents, have a good day. We're out of time.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Kieran.
See you, Josh. See you, KG.
A quick break, back in just a moment. Stay with us.